Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Another good, bright, sunny, and rainy morning. I, Mr. Aftab Ijaz, I'm an English PhD from Punjab University, have made a video about Egbert Barnes' drama, The Sea, Scene 1, 2 days before, or probably 3 days before. And I would like for you people to support my efforts in this regard so that it could be beneficial for you from literal come knowledge point of view. Today I thought to make video upon Edward Barnes' drama See the Scene 2. Scene 2 is also absolutely interesting and it shows the senseless attitude of the society and its people and also the class difference even in the 20th century England. What happens in this scene that the two aristocratic ladies, Mrs. Rafi and Mrs. Gallows, are present in the shop of Mr. H. H shows many items for buying to Mrs. Rafi, but she rejects those items because she has her own specific attitude in buying the things. H is unaware of the fact that whether Mrs. Rafi is serious in buying the things or not. However, what Mrs. Rafi does, she buys the gloves and places order for blue velvet curtains. What happens next? Willie comes to the shop and Mrs. Rafi tells Willie that niece, Mrs. Rose, was the niece of Mrs. Rafi and she was engaged to Colin. Willie, Mrs. Rafi, and Mrs. Gallows are sad about this tragic incident and they leave. Mr. Hatch asks Hollocutt, Thompson, and Carter to have an eye upon them, and especially to have an eye upon Willie. Why? Because Mr. Hatch considers Willie an alien who is spying here for occupational purposes. So in this scene, what we see in this scene, two or three things I would like to describe. The first thing is class differences between the people. There is much difference between the classes of Willie and classes of Mrs. Rafi and Mrs. Gallows. On the one hand, a person has been wronged. All the people, instead of searching that person and all the people having a get together in order to show their sympathetic attitude to Mr. Willie or to have a sympathetic attitude towards Mrs. Rafi, they go to a shop because they have no concern with the dead person. And they go to the shop for buying purposes, and they have their buying attitude whether they buy the gloves or whether they buy the clothes or whether they buy the curtains or whatever it is. Then the next point is that imaginative and self-made attitude of Mr. H, which we saw not only in the first scene but in the second scene also, that he appoints specifically Hollercut and Thompson to pay special attention to Mr. Willie because according to his point of view, Mr. Willie is an alien who is spying for the occupational purposes. So the scene ends here. And if we make a comparison and contrast of the two scenes, in the first scene there is no shopping, there's no shopping incident. There's no shopping takes place of gloves or clothes. But and in the second scene, the shopping incident takes place. In the first scene, drowning incident takes place. In the second scene, drowning incident does not take place. So both scenes are comparable to each other. Both scenes deeply contrast each other. and both scenes expose the behavior attitude of the social people, and both scenes expose the class differences. So if we make a comparison and contrast with the Tempest by William Shakespeare and the Sea by Edward Byrne, both are different. I think both are absolutely different because I have my own creative point of view. That's not cheatable, that's not imitated. I think that's enough for this scene. And further, I would like to make more videos after a lot of research and after my own readings. And I would like you people to support me, to support me for further prestigious development in literature and especially in this drama. And I will keep on making more and more videos. Thanks very much. Allah Hafiz.